Hello guys, it's Chummaster here doing another Beyblade video. This time I'm going to be talking about what I think is the best set in Beyblade Burst. So, I've been wanting to do this video for a very long time, and I'm finally going to do it. This is going to be a pretty long video, so there are a few things to talk about first here. So, first, what sets am I qualifying? I'm qualifying effectively every single mainline set. No B00 sets or any of the, I think there's like two Southeast Asian exclusive sets. I'm not counting these mainly because they're either just redundant and everything I have to say about other sets would apply to them, or they just don't really fit the theme of this video. The only other sets I'm excluding are the two launcher sets from show sets, because like these aren't really like real sets. Again, they don't really fit the theme of this video. Next up, this video I'm going to be doing a lot of kind of like images and stuff. I'll be showing a lot of images, but I'm also going to kind of have some live action stuff where I show different bays on camera. I don't have every single one of these sets, but the ones I'm missing are like stadium sets where like it doesn't really matter that I don't have them. I'm not really missing out on anything, so for those will just be images, but for other sets that I do have, I will actually show some stuff for them. This is probably one of the most important parts of this video. One of the biggest things I'm taking into account is the time of release. So basically, when I talk about a set and how good it is, it's based on when it was released. So I can compare two sets or any other products that were released at the same time or before, but nothing after it. Otherwise, it's just very, very unfair to older sets. Next up, we're going to have 5 tiers. Bottom tier, these are for sets that I think are actually just bad. Low tier, these sets aren't like terrible or anything, they're just not really a big reason to buy them. Mid tier, these sets are decent, they're not bad to pick up, but I wouldn't say you like have to have them. Then there's high tier, these sets are actually like the good sets. These are sets that I think are just good and I'd probably recommend picking them up. And then there's, of course, the top tier. These are like the best of the best, in my opinion. And at the end of this video, I will be crowning one of the top tiers as the best set in all of Burst. And I will have chapters, so if you just want to know like the actual question I'm proposing in the title of what's the best set in Beyblade Burst, you can go there to find that out. But if you want to hear about other sets, then that's what this video is for. And last but certainly not least, how will I be qualifying and actually ranking these, well, tiering these sets? I'm not ranking them within the tiers. But how am I going to tier them? First up, is there anything new in the set? What can I get in this set that doesn't appear anywhere else, again, at the time of release? Second, is there anything rare in the set? Is anything reprinted that was previously difficult to get? Third, are there any competitively good parts in the set? Bonus points if they are new parts. And fourth, aside from any of these, is there just anything else extra about this set that might make it worthwhile? So these are the kind of parameters that I've set for the tier list, and kind of everything that I need to actually set up before this video really gets started. I know it's a very, very long introduction. This is going to be a very long video where I go through 31 sets for Beyblade Burst, so with that said, let's just go ahead and get started. Starting off with bottom tier, I guess I should just also mention, I'm just going chronologically through the sets within the tiers, so there's only 2 sets in this bottom tier. I'm just going in order of how they were released, and that will be the same for future tiers. But anyway, the first set is, of course, the Dual Cyclone Base Stadium DX set. I think this set was actually pretty bad. So you have a stadium, a gimmicky stadium, nonetheless, with the 2 rotating plates, a proto-launcher for whatever reason, and then 1 bay. To me, this is like a low tier set. I don't think this is very good. So why is it bottom tier? Well, you get a bay in this set. And said bay is, of course, Fang Fenrir. So Fang Fenrir, Boost Shaggy, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but Fang Fenrir, this is a unique layer. It's actually not a bad layer either, but this layer is unique to the set. Normally, this would be a good thing, but in this case, I don't like it. it's just kind of a lazy combo, and this isn't a very interesting duel there, and they threw it in a set with a gimmicky stadium, basically just to sell the stadium that most people are not going to care about at all. That's why it's bottom tier. I just don't like how they marketed this set at all, and I don't agree with putting technically a mainline bay in this set. I just really don't agree with that at all. Next up, we have the BU All-in-One set. This set was abysmal, and I'm just going to say right now, of the two sets, I think this is the worst of the two. So, if you want to know what the worst set in Beyblade Burst is, in my opinion, this is it. So first up, of course, big box, difficult to import. That's never fun. The stadium is a DB stadium. We already had a few releases before this. You were able to get a DB stadium for well over a year at this point. Here's another release of it, I guess. 2 right spin light launchers that no one wants, and then 2 bays. These are, of course, Divine Belial and Chain Kirbyus. The Divine Belial has absolutely nothing of value to it. There is no reason for this bay to truly be sought after, aside from just like maybe collector's value, but like that's just because it's an expensive set, so nothing about this bay really matters. Chain Kirbyus is the more important of the two. The 6 armor, actually not 6 armor, this guy's a 6 armor, I almost forgot to mention. Divine Belial does have 6 armor, which is technically a prize part from Random Booster Volume 25, but it's just been re-released so many times at this point that it doesn't really matter, so anyway. Chain Kirbyus has 3, and Karma is a disc. These also don't matter, but the Chain Blade and Kirbyus Core, okay, these were prize parts from Random Booster 29, but they are not really that hard to get at this point. So getting them in the set really wasn't that big of a deal. The only other selling point of the set is Moment Dash, which is cool, but again, it doesn't really make this set worth it. I get that these sets can be kind of marketed towards people who are maybe just getting into Burst and don't have a stadium yet, but the problem is that, okay, well, the DB stuff has already been established for quite a while. You could have got the DB entry set, the DB all-in-one set, or just a stadium on its own for well over a year at this point. Getting this now wasn't helpful. These things were still in production. You could still get them. And Burst was almost over. This is literally the third to last release. Only the VS set and Barricade Looser came after this. And technically, the 2023 anniversary, V2 set, whatever. But, like, getting this didn't matter. Again, the other stuff was in production. There is 0 point to this set's existence. And that's why I'm considering bottom tier. There's also just nothing good in the set to make you even want it if you already have these, sets or stadiums or whatever. It just sucks. There's absolutely no merit to this set at all, and that's why it is bottom tier. Alright, now we get to low tier. This is actually kind of an interesting one because there's 6 things in here and all of them just happen to be stadium sets. I didn't really mean for this to happen, but my problems with them are all kind of similar, so I'm going to go ahead and run through each set and what you get, and then afterwards I'm going to talk about why they're all low tier. First up is the Versus Battle set. You get Spriggan and Valkyrie in here with, the recolored. You get 2 launchers, 2 launcher grips, and a stadium. Next up, the Burst Entry set. You get a recolored Victory Valkyrie, a Bay Launcher, a Bay Logger, and a stadium. The God Entry set, we get a recolored God Valkyrie, a Bay Launcher, a launcher grip, and then a stadium. Josie Battle set, you get recolors of Winning Valkyrie and the Achilles, 2 light launchers and a stadium. GT Battle set, we get recolors of Base Dragon and Slash Valkyrie, 2 light launchers and a stadium. And lastly, the Super King Battle set. Recolors of Super Hyperion and King Helios, probably the most dynamic recolor so far. 2 light launchers and a stadium. All of these are in low tier, not because they're bad sets, it's just that there's already stadium sets established at this point. Like the VS Battle set, the Start Dash set released a couple months prior, which, that already released. There's no reason to really buy this one at this point. The Burst Enter set, okay, this one, it's literally just the Start Dash set, except, a couple different colors, and instead of Valkyrie, you get Victory Valkyrie. Cool. And by this point, every other set after this, for the next 4 seasons, stadiums are widely available. You could get stadiums very easily at this point. So these sets are kind of redundant in a way, and especially with the Sparking one, because that one, Sparking launchers were out at that point, and light launchers were already outclassed, but now it's like they're even more outclassed, so... Yeah, so the reason why these are low tier and not bottom tier is because if you are just getting into Burst, maybe you came in a few years late, which is like, understandable. These sets aren't bad to get. You get a couple launchers, a couple bays, a stadium. It's nice. You get some nice stuff to start off. That's why they're low tier. These aren't sets that a lot of people are going to want to get, but they are sets that, some people might still want to start off. And that's kind of where that fourth category comes in that I mentioned earlier. Because, well, there's really nothing competitively interesting here, and I mean, if there is, you can get it elsewhere. Nothing really new or rare either. But again, that's where the fourth thing applies, where, okay, there is, a reason to get these if you are new. Fair enough. And that's really all there is to low tier. It's just these sets, which aren't really overly interesting, but again, they're good for newcomers, and that's just kind of the whole point of them. Moving on to mid-tier, yeah, there weren't many, like, bad sets or anything, so already in some decent ones, but yeah. First up, the custom attack and balance set. First up, you do get like the power launcher grip or whatever, the one with the thicker grips, that's cool. Nice to have, I guess, and then you get some bays, and, well, here are the 3 bays you get. Spriggan spread below, pretty uninteresting. I guess the spread disc is nice, and yeah, you get painted disc, which is kind of cool, but yeah. Spread is like the only really interesting thing here for like competitive use and whatnot. Death Scyther, Oval Infusion, pretty worthless in general, but Death Scyther is a really good competitive layer. And then you get the new bay here. Minoboros, Oval Quake, Stock Bay, that's really cool. Minoboros and Quake are new parts as well. So yeah, this is a pretty nice bay to get, and yeah, I guess Minoboros had some like niche competitive use and whatnot. But that's why that set's mid tier. There just isn't a ton here. Like, yeah, Death Scyther is really good. I mean, it was banned, but like, it wasn't hard to get outside of the set. So, again, you get some decent stuff here, get some new stuff, but I just don't think the set is really worth anything else in particular. Moving on to the counterpart set, the custom stamina and defense set. This set, I think, was a bit better. I actually almost put this in high tier, but I think it's not quite there. You do get a light launcher with a long winder, that's pretty nice. And then for the 2 stock base here, I mean, Ragnarok Central, massive. Like, everything here is just, like, very whatever. Nothing's, like, rare, just competitively okay. Wyvern, Heavy, Survive. Heavy and Survive, actually, it's more use. Wyvern's okay, but yeah. These 2 had a bit more use, so that's pretty cool. They're just not very uncommon. So that's one issue, but yeah. And we have the new bay, Unicorn Ring Defense. Defense is pretty solid. Ring, it's a new part and pretty decent. Unicorn's also just kind of okay. But again, it's a new part, so got some collector's value there. It's pretty nice, but again, I do think competitively there's more stuff here, but nothing that wants me to put it in high tier. And again, just for collector stuff, you do get a mainline bay in here, which is really nice. So there's that. Next up, we have actually the heavy set. The heavy sets. You get the heavy launcher, which I guess is kind of cool, just to get a launcher variant, but yeah. As far as the bays go, we got Victory Valkyrie, Triple Unite. Victory Valkyrie, I guess this is another way to get a reinforced one, although you could already get one from the triple booster sets, without going through like random boosters and whatnot. Triple, whatever, Unite, not bad. And then Storm Spriggan, Boost Impact. Yeah, nothing here is really interesting, I'm not gonna lie. And then we of course get to the new bay, Inferno Ifrit Magnum Liner. Unfortunately, competitively this thing isn't great, but it's a new bay, it's a new stock bay. Inferno Ifrit and Liner are new parts. This is very similar to the other 2 sets previously, where I think, again, you get some decent stuff here, but nothing's that crazy, but you at least get like 1 new mainline bay, so there's at least something to this set. Moving on to something a lot different than these sets, we have the Mugen Bay Stadium DX set. The Mugen Bay Stadium DX set is very interesting because it has a very gimmicky stadium where you basically are able to use the bay. I'll just show the bay really quick, but you get this Strikeout Valkyrie with the Mugen, and the Mugen thing, you're basically able to use it with the stadium, and with that, it spins forever, effectively. You turn it on, there you go, and then you can battle against it, try and beat it. That's pretty cool. It's a nice, like, training set. Pretty cool. Plus you get a Strike God Valkyrie layer, which is the only way you can get the Strike God Valkyrie layer normally. Otherwise, you gotta get Strike God chips, which are like Koro exclusives, and that's a lot harder. And yeah, this is just kind of a nice way to get it, while also getting a cool training set. This one's kind of on the fringe of mid and low tier, but I feel like, again, it's a nice training set. So yeah, even if this thing isn't like crazy for like, competitive use, it still has some use of training, I guess. And then like, I mean, the Strike God chip, kind of getting it in a set is nice, although I guess even if you buy it secondhand, it's probably cheaper just to get the other ones, even at the time, so yeah. But yeah, the training set, yeah, that's cool. Being able to train it, nice, whatever. Anyway, the last thing in mid-tier is the DB all-in-one set. Again, never fun to import these, but you get 2 light launchers, 1 right spin, 1 left spin, and then also a DB Stadium. Cool, If you skipped out on the DB enter sets, which you might have, this is a really good way to get one. You also get 2 bays, which are the golden Dynamite Belial and the violet Roar Bahamut. Dynamite Belial is basically stock, just swap out the 2 armor with 3. This bay, it's not really overly interesting, it just kind of exists. But the other bay here, the Roar Bahamut Violet version. This one actually does appear in the anime, this layer. It does come with 6 instead of 10, but 6 was a prize part for Random Booster Volume 25, so... And it wasn't completely overdone at this point, so, there's a little bit more merit to that. Karma, that's kind of unfortunate, but, the Roar Blade and the Bahamut Core, these were prizes from Random Booster Volume 26. Roar isn't too bad to get, but it's still nice to have here, but the Bahamut Core, very, very good competitive core, but also... You can only get it from the original Roar Bahamut, a prize bay that was very hard to get, so a really nice reprint here. Also Metal Drift, pretty cool part, and exclusive to this set, so yeah, and again, just very good competitively, so you get some competitive value with this set. Also just, I guess, a new driver variant, and I guess this layer is like technically an anime layer, so there you go. And I guess Bahamut was a pretty hard to get part. And you get a Stadium set if you didn't have one before for DB. So hey, this is a pretty nice set. I do think it could have gone high tier, but I still think overall, I'm mainly basing this on like 2 parts, and like they are good, but like Metal Drift, I mean, there's also just like normal drift, which is really good, and like the Bahamut Core, you could still get it elsewhere, through the random booster, so there's that. And then there was already a DB Stadium set already, so I mean, this one's definitely more of a fringe case between mid and high tier, but I put it in mid tier anyway, so yeah. And that will round out the mid tiers of the DB all-in-one sets, and yeah, it's a pretty good set, but yeah, it doesn't quite get to high tier for me personally. Moving on to the high tiers, we actually have quite a lot here, because I think that a lot of sets in Burst were actually pretty good. So, first up we have the Triple Booster set, the original one. So this set just had 3 bays, and I guess let's get the 3 bays out. So here we go. So first up, Victory Valkyrie. Upper Quake was kind of just whatever, but like, I guess Quake was like mainly just like a set part before, so here's another chance to get it in different sets. Victory Valkyrie. So the only way to get the reinforced versions before this were like through like B00 releases or Random Booster Volume 3. So if you didn't get those, great chance to get this. Also a very good layer competitively at the time. Chaos Oval Gyro, whatever, but like, Chaos was only in Random Layer Collection Volume 1, great chances to get this. Also, I'd probably technically consider this like the stock version of it, so I guess, again, technically it's like a mainline bay in a way, so there you go for a, for some collector's value. Still like a pretty solid layer as well, so there you go. And then Nova Neptune. Not the best layer, but it is a brand new layer to the sets, so that's pretty cool. Vertical, whatever, but like Trans was actually a really good driver for its time. Also, new to the set, so that's kind of the thing, is that you get a really good driver that's, again, exclusive to the set, and you get a couple parts that were maybe a little bit harder to get. This one being reinforced, this one being in a random layer collection, so I think the set just ends up being pretty good overall. Definitely one that was a little bit on the edge of mid and high tier, but this one I decided to put in high tier. Moving along to the Speed set. Yeah, the last of kind of the counterpart sets from the first 2 years of Burst. Speed set gives you the speed launcher, neat I guess, and then you get to the bays. The bays, okay. Kaiser Kirbyus, well down's whatever, but like Kaiser Kirbyus, a pretty good layer, and then also Orbit's one of the best drivers, arguably the best driver in the game at the time, so really, really good pickup for that. Also Wild Wyvern, kind of, I guess a decent layer, Infinities, whatever, but Yielding. Competitively, I think it's always a little bit underrated, but it's not like a top tier driver or anything, but it was only in Random Booster Volume 3 before this, as the prize part there, so getting a re-release of this in a set, very, very nice. And of course the new Bay, Psychic Phantom, Polish, Weight. So Weight, whatever, but like Psychic Phantom, not the best layer, but new layer, also just again a new mainline Bay, that's pretty nice. And then Polish is a weird one. At launch, Polish really wasn't that good of a disc, but I mean, it was still a new disc, but still. But once we got left spin bays, Polish became very, very good, and for quite a while, it was the only way to actually get Polish as well. So, Polish, even though at the time of release wasn't great, I think just because obviously once left spin bays happened, you know, this thing would become very good. So I'm still going to count this as like a really good part anyway. And besides, you do get some other nice stuff here, like Yielding and Orbits. So the speed set, I am considering this one a high tier set. Next up, we have the Chozy Triple Booster set, another debatable one. However, this set has a fun driver lineup: Destroy, Bearing, and Atomic. While the God Customized set did have Bearing and Atomic as well, this is another great chance to get Bearing and Atomic, two of the most dominant drivers of the time, and Destroy, one of the best attack drivers of its time. So in terms of driver selection, you're getting some great stuff here, but everything else, so you get this kind of random stock base Z Achilles, not a battler, just kind of there though. 3, sure. Dagger, this was actually pretty important because it's a new part, for one, but also, if you want to have a complete Buster Excalibur, technically you need to have the dagger frame for it, so there's some collector's value there. Wolborg obviously has collector's value because it's literally a remake layer. 8, kind of whatever, but still, there's that. And then, of course, Hazard Kirbyus, not the best competitively, but previously it was only in a random layer collection, and, random layer collection 9 as the prize. And this is technically the stock version of it, so there you go. Also, 7's a pretty good disc, so I think you get some pretty solid stuff here, plus, again, the driver lineup here is immaculate. Moving on, we have one of my favorite stuff to talk about. I almost want to put this in top tier, but I don't think it's quite top tier, but that is the Chozy Musuo Base Stadium set. Kind of a better Mugen set. This has 2 plates, one for right spin, one for left spin. And I'll show the base really quick because that kind of reflects it. So here's Left Apollo and Right Artemis. Right Artemis just has a recolor of Mugen. The red one came with the previous set, so this is a black one. And then we have this white one here. This is Mugen L. This is for left spins. And also the layers while we're here. Technically, you know, stock layers because, you know, they are new. Left Apollos and Right Artemis. Really, really cool layers as well. Also, they, you know, split in half. You could choose the left or right, you know, like centerpieces and make eclipse with either one. Very cool layers. Not great competitively, but still really, really good for, you know, collection. But anyways, going back to the stadium, you have 2, you know, spinning pieces here. A right spin and a left spin, you know, plate, whatever you want to call them. And basically, the reasons why this is so good is for training. The previous set was pretty good for training, but one of the best things to do with these sets is basically choose like one of them and use like an opposite spin bay. So if you have a right spin bay, use a left spin bay. If you have a left spin bay, use the right spin bay here. And yeah, so basically you could kind of infinitely battle. That was the whole thing. So some parts are better if they're a little bit worn. So if you want to wear out some parts, use a set, because again, you could just do that via opposite spin bays, and there you go. You could do that. I mean, because it's battery powered, you could battle infinitely, wear out parts that you want to wear out, and And even for layers, if there's like a layer you want worn, you could maybe have one of them use like the Mugen part, and then the other, like another layer just facing off against them. So yeah, it was just very, very good for that. And also just general training like the other one, obviously, if you want to do that. But yeah, this actually does have legitimate competitive use though because of that. Again, if you want a certain part worn for competitive play, this does that. So yeah, very, very good set. Again, I really want to put this in top tier, but I feel like that's a little bit niche. Like, most parts you aren't going to want to wear out, like, with something like this. Like, you don't need to, so I think high tier is a comfortable spot for it, though. Moving on, we have the GT Customized set. I think there's a pretty strong debate to be made for putting this in top tier. But between the 4 bays you get, I'm personally not convinced. So we'll start with the 2 stock bays we get. Neither one I feel like is particularly impressive. Like, this layer here, Erase Fafnir with 10, who cares? Sting, a pretty good disc. Trick, who cares? And for Cosmo Dragon and Retz or whatever, Cosmo, it was the prize base from Random Booster Volume 15, but this base was pretty easy to get. Vanguard, a decent disc, unless if you bend it, then it becomes busted, but, I mean, the legality of that's kind of debatable, and I don't think that was really a strategy at the time, so yeah. Revolve, kind of outclassed at this point, but not like a bad driver, I guess. Not great either, but yeah. These 2 bays are very whatever. So yeah. Then we get to the 2 actual new bays, Prime Apocalypse and Regalia Genesis. So Prime Apocalypse, layer, it's kind of whatever. Ultimate Reboot Dash, not the best, but some people do swear by it. And then Zero Daggers, whatever, just kind of a frame, I guess. And then Zero, a pretty solid disc, even at the time. Mainly the best thing here is just kind of getting a new bay. It's a stock bay, a mainline bay, and also part of a new subsystem with, of course, the Infinite Lock stuff. And then also the big one here being Regalia Genesis, which, again, kind of just a whatever layer. But hybrid, I know some people like these for competitive usage because of how round they are. Very, very cool being an electric driver, also just a disc driver fusion. This bay, competitively, again, hybrid, I guess, but like everything else about this bay, purely just for collector's value, just because it's a really, really unique mainline bay. So I feel like this set overall, though, putting it in high tier, I feel like you can kind of debate top tier or mid tier, honestly. Mid tier, because I feel like a lot of the parts here aren't great. But top tier, because you do get 2 very, very interesting bays. I kind of want to put it in top tier just because of that, but at the same time, I feel like this kind of defeats the purpose of a customized set. Like, with GT, the most customizable Beyblade Burst system to date, at the time. And you opt for 2 of the layers to not be customizable, and then also have a disc driver fusion. That took away a lot to me, and I like Prime Apocalypse, I like Regalia Genesis, very cool bays, I like them a lot, but I don't think putting them in a customized set was the best move, so that's why they're out of top tier and in high tier. And then again, the part selection, like I said at the start of this video, that's not everything, so I think it's fair to put it in high tier anyway. So yeah, moving on from that, we have the Super King Triple Booster set. You get 3 bays here, go ahead and grab them all. So here are the 3 bays, and yeah, I guess I gotta zoom out now because the bays are getting a little bit too big. But anyway, first up here, Naked Diablos. This is a great bay because well, 11 sucks, but Wave. This is a new driver. Also Naked. This was a prize part for Random Booster Volume 18. Not too hard to get though. Diablos 2, pretty decent chip. But the main thing here is Goku because this was a very hard weight to get at the time, and this was the first like more widely accessible release of it. Next up we have Curse Satan. Arrow Dash is terrible. Hold Dash, not really great either. I guess it's like an easier access to Hold Dash, but like not necessary, and like it wasn't that hard to get anyway. The main thing here is the Curse Satan layer. 1 defense is like an okay chassis, and then I still think it's like the worst, but still. It's still like okay, I guess, and then Satan as a chip and Curse as a ring are not great, but everything with the layer was exclusive, not exclusive, introduced in Random Booster Volume 20, so you can only get these parts in Random Boosters to this point. So getting these now was actually really, really nice, so, some nice collector's value there. And lastly, Tempest Dragon. One attack, it is a double chassis to use, not bad. Charge Metal, I guess new driver variant, sure. And then Tempest Dragon. New parts, cool. Competitively, dragons, whatever, but Tempest was an absolute menace, so very, very good ring there. And also a new mainline bay. So you do get some really nice stuff here. This one's definitely a border on, bordering on top tier, but I don't think it was quite there. I know Tempest is insane and Goku is really nice, but outside of that, this isn't too crazy, aside from just getting Tempest Dragon, a new mainline bay, so yeah, pretty cool set though overall. Moving on to the DB entry set. Unlike the other sets like this, I'm putting this one in high tier, mainly just because DB was so much different, and I don't have the set, but still, first set, the DB Stadium was actually pretty important, so getting one was important, unlike the other sets, so you probably want a DB Stadium. Also, the DB launchers were new, and you get one here, and then, of course, you get a launcher grip, nice bonus, and then also you get a recolor of Dynamite Belial, and, yeah, I mean, it's just a really good introduction to DB. Again, new launcher, new stadium, new, system. You get a good look at all of that here, but it actually feels more necessary than the other sets. So yeah, this is just a great start to DB. The only reason why it's not higher is because I don't feel like you need a DB Stadium. Like, you don't have to have it. Like, you probably should have it, but it's not like the most necessary thing. A lot of people are just going to use the standard type anyway. And then, of course, Dynamite Belial and the launcher, you can get them separately, cheaper than the set in total anyway, so yeah. But I still think it was a really great set, so I'm still putting it in high tier anyway. Moving on, we have the Zest Achilles Customized set. This is an interesting one. So we have a lot of extra parts here. I'll grab all of them. So, yeah. Chain Phoenix with the 2 armor. I guess Chain was the prize part from Random Booster 29, but it wasn't like that hard of a blade to get. 2 in Phoenix. Phoenix was only in the Overdrive SP set, so not a bad reprint, but it's just in another set anyway. 2, whatever. Hollow Ragnarok, 1 defense in Ragnarok, I could not care less about, but Hollow, getting this reprint because it was only in Random Booster Volume 23, pretty nice to have. So yeah. Nothing really for competitive use yet, but I guess the first one of that would be the Fortress disc. Fortress, pretty good part competitively. Also was only in Random Booster 29 at the time, so nice to have. Also Metal Never, this is like an okay part. I mean, it's still something you could use competitively if you want to, but not like top tier. Also, it was a new driver variant, so yeah. And of course, A-Gear. This was a new gear for Divine Belial. And it made Divine go from terrible to actually a usable blade. Not great, but still usable. And then there's the main blade of the set. Zest Achilles. Achilles, the core, pretty good competitively because, it's LR and it has pretty good stamina. 4, it's not the best armor, honestly. Zest Blade, not the best. Quattro Dash, you could use it. Nothing crazy, but it's a new driver variant at least then. Illegal is a new disc, and yeah, it was really, really good. And overall, yeah, this bay, just a new mainline bay in general. Quite a bit of stuff in this set, honestly. Again, this is another one that kind of borders top tier, but I feel like it's just not quite hitting the same as other sets. Because, well, yes, something like Illegal is great. It's still not quite as good as Over, and while if you're making a deck, you probably will want both. Over is still better. And Fortress isn't like the best disc either. It's like really good, but not like number 1. A lot of stuff in here is really good, but just not like the toppest of top tiers, and that's why I opted to put this in high tier. You still do get a lot of good stuff, and it's definitely debatable on putting this in top tier, but I opted for high tier on this one. Alright, the next set we have is probably another one that's going to be a little controversial, but that is the Ultimate Fusion DX set. So you get the best launcher in the game here, the best DB launcher, of course. The long string with the core unit, the power gear unit, and then the bearing spin unit. We already had this one before in the previous sets, in the Overdrive SP set, so this is just a kind of recolor of that. And then there's the 3 bays, so as far as the 3 bays go, how good are they? So yeah, Super Hyperion MR, good core for stamina, also a new core, Taper, 2 very whatever, Explosion, new part. Super MR, new blade, also really cool. And then also King Helios MR, Helios Core, good for stamina and whatnot. 10. Technically, it's a prize part for Mana Booster 26, but it's just very easy to get at this point. Giga, also a prize part for Mana Booster Volume 25, but again, it was just very easy to get by this point. Zeal, pretty solid driver actually, and also a new one. And then King MR, like, I mean, Super MR and King MR are like whatever competitively. I mean, you can use them if you want, but like, the main thing is that they are new parts, and they are just very, very cool with their Eclipse gimmick. Well, I guess Fusion gimmick, I just always say Eclipse gimmick because that's what it came on first, but yeah. Very, very cool. Again, new mainline bays, so very nice. And lastly, there's this thing, this Divine Belial recolor. Divine and Nexus, I could not care less about, but everything else in this bay is great. Belial 3, it's a new core and also really good. H gear, new gear for Divine Belial, great. Also makes Divine a little bit better if you pair it with A gear as well. Still not like great competitively though. And then Bearing Drift, an absolute menace competitively, and also technically a new part. And the only way to get Bearing Drift before this was Metal Bearing Drift, which was extremely hard to get. So not only is this a new variant, but also it's like the first accessible method of getting a Bearing Drift. So yeah, very, very good part. This is another one that's very debatable on whether or not to put into top tier, but I'm not going to. Purely because I feel like the last set, the Overdrive SP starter set, a lot of stuff you got there, you get here. I mean, like Giga, for example. I guess that's not like crazy, but I guess what I should say is if these sets were swapped. If this set in BU came out during DB, which, I mean, it could have realistically. Like, it's not that far-fetched with some of the stuff here. I mean, obviously it didn't. I get why it wouldn't, but still, like, let's just, for the sake of an argument, if this came out during DB and the Overdrive SP set came out in BU, they would be swapped in terms of tiers. But because this is the BU version, we already had a lot of these parts by this point. You know, the meta was already pretty, not full, but, you know, there's already a lot of stuff in it. And also just a lot of reprints in general for collector stuff. Definitely harms it a bit, but I still think it's a very, very high tier product. And for sure still bordering on top tier. Moving on to our last high tier set, which is of course the VS set. The VS set is interesting. So first up you do get 2 bays here, and also the VS gear. Not great competitively, but it is a new gear, and also is the final gear for the ultimate gear set for Divine Belial, so it completes that. Very, very nice. And lastly, the 2 bays. Ultimate Valkyrie, stock layer, Ultimate Valkyrie, Valkyrie 2 core, Ultimate Blade, 9 armor. Everything here is pretty good, actually, but it's not hard to get. Excel Dash sucks. Wing Dash is a new disc, and it's pretty good. Nothing crazy, but it's still a pretty good disc overall. It's new. I mean, that's nice. This is technically the final Valkyrie as well, so, I mean, that's something for collector's value. And then Burst Spriggan, also technically the final Spriggan. These being the final two kind of is what really carries the set, I feel like, but yeah. Spriggan 2 core is pretty good. The Burst Blade, also really solid. 8 armor is nice enough. Sprite Dash, kind of the third best disc in kind of the round discs, you know, third to, you know, over and illegal, but still a really good disc. Fusion Dash sucks, so you still get some good stuff competitively here, but what really pushes this to be in high tier, maybe it'd be high tier anyway, but I think it almost gets pushed to top tier, is just solely because you are getting Valkyrie and Spriggan in this set, kind of the final versions of them, so that's kind of crazy, actually. So I think that's a really important thing, and that's why it's, you know, kind of bordering on top tier, but again, it is just still in the high tier section of the video, and yeah, there you go. With that, that is everything in high tier. Quite a lot, so yeah, I guess that is that. And now we get to top tier, the best sets in all of Burst, in my opinion. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start off with the first thing. Well, I guess before that, again, I will be crowning one of these sets at the end of this video as the best, so I guess we'll see what that is, but anyway. Well, to me it's pretty obvious, but again, we'll talk about that when we get to it anyway. So, the first set is the Start Dash set, one of the first, well, actually the first set in all of Burst. This gives you a Stadium, a Bay Launcher, a Bay Logger, and a Bay. Of course, this Bay being Valkyrie Wing Excel, the, first ever Burst Bay. Pretty nice, actually. Yeah, really nice recolor, but yeah. So, this Bay's cool. But yeah, if you're just starting out in Burst, like everyone was at the time, this was just a great pickup, because again, you do get a Bay to check out, and then you also will get a Stadium, which again, at the time, unlike the other sets, this was actually something new. And then you get a Bay Launcher, which was exclusive to the set for a little while, and then a Bay Logger, which is nice, because then you have to buy one separately, although you can get them through the DX starters as well, but yeah. This almost feels like just a better Valkyrie DX starter, because you do get a Valkyrie in here, you do get a launcher, although it's a Bay Launcher, which is better. You get a Bay Logger, just like there, and then plus a Stadium, so yeah. Just a really, really great set to start Burst, and yeah, just kind of that's all there is to it. It was the start of Burst, and this set just kind of had everything you really wanted, and that's why it's a top tier set. Moving on, we have the 3-on-3 Battle Booster set. This came with 3 bays. I'll go ahead and show them now. And these 3 bays were something. So, all 3 of these bays were technically the stock forms of these bays. Madman Boros, Guardian Kirbyus, Galaxy Zeus. All the mainline versions. And getting 3 mainline bays in one set doesn't happen very often. So starting off here, Madman Boros. Yeah, exclusive to Random Layer Collection Volume 5 at this point. It was the prize of that, so easy way to get it. Quarter was actually the prize part of Random Booster Volume 5, so an easy way to get that. Quake, kind of whatever, but yeah. Nothing competitively great here, but still, some things that were a little bit harder to get, I guess. Guardian Kirbyus, Heavy Revolve, this definitely sucked as a combo, I will not lie, but still a stock Guardian Kirbyus, and Guardian Kirbyus did come in, as the prize of Random Layer Collection 6. Decent enough layer as well. And even though these parts aren't great as a stock combo, Heavy was still an okay disc, and Revolve was still actually a pretty good driver at the time. And then, of course, Galaxy Zeus. A pretty decent layer, but also just a brand new layer. You also got 4 Meteor. I would argue 4 was top 2 discs at the time. Meteor, I'd say, was the best disc at the time, or best frame, rather. Planet, not great, but it was a new driver. The fact that you just get a lot of pretty good stuff in here, and also that all 3 of these bays are considered kind of the mainline versions of them, to me, makes this a top tier set. Again, I do think this is another debatable one. You could probably say this is high tier, but I still think I do want to consider it top tier, so it's top tier. Moving along, we have the God Customized set. We got 4 bays in here, so I guess we'll just start off with the 2 kind of stock bays, which were pretty good. We have Tornado Wyvern and Drain Fafnir. So Tornado Wyvern, not the best layer, but you get a metal gotcha with it, which is nice. And also, this layer was only in Random Booster Volume 6 to this point, so very nice to get. That was the prize part in there. 1 Meteor, 1 really only good if you're pairing it with Sieg, so in here it's just kind of whatever. But Meteor, again, I would argue that this was the best frame. Well, I guess by now it was like I guess it was more in contention for the best frame. Probably the second best frame, realistically, but still very, very good. Spiral, not great. This other right here, Drain Fafnir. Then you get a Metal God Chip, Drain Fafnir. One of the best layers in the game. 7. Again, I said 4 was one of the best discs. This was kind of the other one in contention for best. 7's amazing. Star, pretty solid frame. Also was harder to get. It was only in, I believe it was a WBA booster, a special Koro release that was a little bit harder to get, and then a Random Booster Volume 8. So this is a nice, easier mainline way to get it. Also Zephyr, kind of whatever, but yeah, I mean, fair enough, I guess. And then we also get the 2 brand new bays in here, Arc Bahamut and Deep Cast. So you do get 2 brand new mainline bays, very nice. Arc Bahamut, besides from being new, was a pretty good layer. 2 was a decent disc. Bump, this was kind of the new frame that I would say was the best. It was exclusive to the set. And Atomic, one of the best drivers in the game at this point, but also it was locked in Random Booster Volume 6 until this point, so very, very nice driver to get. And then, of course, Deep Chaos, again, new layer, pretty good competitively. A 4 disc in here, 4, again, very good. Flow, it was kind of alright, but it was only in Random Booster Volume 7 to this point, so Very nice to get. And then Bearing, another phenomenal driver, one of the best in the game. So this set really just gives you a lot. Again, you get some new mainline bays, some harder to get parts, and also just a ton of competitive use out of the set. Next up is the Chozy Customized set. Another customized set, so yeah. Starting off with kind of the two random bays in here, we got Bloody Longinus and Crash Ragnarok. Bloody Longinus, pretty solid layer, I guess. Nothing crazy, but yeah, there it is. One dash, not great. Dagger, whatever. I guess it was only in another set, so another reprint in another set, so sure. And then Cycle, which, not great. This bay is definitely the dud of the set, but you do get Crash Ragnarok. Crash Ragnarok, kind of a whatever layer, honestly, but it was only in, or maybe got reprinted in another Random Booster, but it was the prize of Random Booster Volume 10. I think it might have gotten reprinted in 11 or 12. Maybe I'm thinking of a GT Random Booster, but still, it was definitely only a Random Booster to this point, so really, really nice to get this here. 5, decent disc, cross, really good frame. Volcanic Dash, not the best, but was still a new driver variant, so pretty cool to have. And then we get to the actual new bays here with Orbegus and Chozy Spriggan. Orbegus was actually the prize of Random Layer Collection 10, so here's the mainline version of it. Outer. Outer is a good disc, but also was only with Orichalcum to this point. A very hard bay to get, so very, very good reprint. Quest, meme driver, but it was still a new driver at the time, so that's something. Chozy Spriggan, brand new layer. Also a great competitive layer. Also a part of the Chozy Awakening system, so that also adds to it. Comes with Zero Wall. Zero, one of the best discs in the... Actually, at this point, it was the best disc in the game. Wall, now in contention for the best frame in the game. Zeta Dash, kind of whatever, but is a new Dash driver. So yeah, also, yeah, this is just a great bay to get because it is a new Spriggan, so... This set, again, you get a lot of good stuff competitively, and also just some cool new stuff. Again, a rare part in here. I guess technically a couple rare parts, but whatever, and then just a couple new mainline bays, so a lot of good stuff in this set. Moving on, we have the GT Triple Booster set. The GT Triple Booster set is great. So here are the bays. We have Slash Dragon with Mets. This is pretty whatever as a layer, but you do get Double O, which is a really good disc. And then Octa. This was exclusive to Orichalcum, like Outer, and it's not the best driver, but it was an easy way to get it, and it was very rare before, so nice to have. Dread Bahamut, the Dread base is okay, but Bahamut and again are kind of whatever, but Bahamut and Dread were both in Random Layer Volume 1, exclusive to that, of course, you know, nice to get. And then the Genway was only in, I think it was only accessible through G4 tournaments, so nice to get a mainline release of it. 7 Wall, 7 and Wall are both good parts. Orbit Metal is a pretty solid part, and also was a new part to the set, so yeah. And of course, Lord Spriggan. Dimension Dash is decent, but it's also a new Dash variant. Blitz is a great disc. Spriggan, it's an LR chip, pretty good, also new. And then the Lord base, new base for this set, but also it's an absolute monster of a base, so yeah. You get a lot of good stuff in this set, which is why I'm putting it in top tier. Moving along, we have the Limit Break DX set. So I honestly didn't want to put this in top tier. I really didn't, because the Dash Stadium, it's a new stadium, but it sucks and I hate it, and again, you know, being a stadium, it just makes the set really expensive. I wish they just had like a double starter set or something, but unfortunately we have to have the stadium, and everything else in the set's great. You get 2 sparking launchers, one right, one left, and they're long sparking launchers as well, which were exclusive to the set, the best launchers of their time. And you also get 2 new bays, Hyperion Burn and Helios Volcano. Hyperion Burn, so as far as competitive stuff goes, Hyperion 2 was really, really good. Also, metal chip cores were really good. Also, were hard to get to this point, so this is a nice way to get them. Burn and O were exclusive to the set, not good though. Exceed Dash, not great. Also, the Exceed chip wasn't great, but these were new parts. Well, I guess Exceed Dash, I mean, it's only a Dash variant, but I mean, with the attachment, it's effectively a new driver. Helios Volcano, Helios 2, great chip. I'd say the best left spin chip. And then, again, a metal chip core. Volcano and O, probably the best limit break parts, but still kind of whatever. And then Zone Dash plus Z. New, but also phenomenal competitively. And both of these bays, not only are they, stock bays, mainline bays, but they're also the evolutions of the main character base in this gen, also part of the limit break system. So with these bays, they just have a ton of collector's value, and also they have some good competitive parts, and again, the launchers also add on to that as well. So I feel like I kind of gonna put this in top tier. Moving on, we have our second to last set, which is, of course, the Astral Spriggan Customized set. You get a lot of parts here, so first up, you get a layer Cyclone Belial with the 2 armor. I guess I'll scrub the other loose parts of the set, so there they all are, but anyway. Belial and 2 or whatever, but Cyclone, this is a prize of random booster volume at 25, nice to have. Nexus, pretty whatever disc, but it actually is kind of good in this set because of the S gear. This made Nexus go from a whatever disc to a top tier disc, and you get both in the set, so you can just make Nexus plus S, which is phenomenal. Blitz, kind of outclassed at this point, but not like a terrible disc, I guess. Metal Survive sucks, but it's a new driver variant, I guess. Metal Extreme, again, time of release. So we have the original Dash drivers, which were very, very hard to burst, and the closest thing we really got to a easy to access Extreme Dash, so that's pretty nice. And lastly, Wave Dash, decent driver, but also, again, a new driver variant. Then we have the actual new bay. Astral Spriggan, decent core. Astral, decent blade. Zero, best armor in the game. Over, best disc in the game. Quattro, solid driver. Everything from this bay is brand new as well, so there's a lot of collector's value there. So yeah, this bay just ends up being really good, because again, you have Zero, you have Over, you have some other pretty good stuff in the set, like Nexus plus S being top tier. Just a lot of top tier stuff in the set that's kind of like, they're just staples in the meta, so really, really important sets. So there you go. And our final set of the tier list, not the best, potentially, but again, our last top tier, is the Overdrive SP Starter set. So you do get the best launcher in the game here, with the Power Gear unit, the second way to get that, but also the Long Core unit and the Bearing Spin unit, the first ways to get them, so pretty great. Also, the 3 bays in here. Savior Perseus, I would argue, is a stock base, so in that case, all 3 of these bays are stock bays, which is pretty important. But yeah, Perseus, pretty good core competitively, also is extremely hard to get to this point, so very nice re-release. 3 is good competitively. Actually, at the time, it was very good competitively. Savior, really good competitively as well. Giga was good competitively, also harder to get because it was a prize part from Random Booster 25. Bearing Dash, new driver variant, and a great, great driver. Prominence Phoenix and Prominence, well, not great, they're both new. 10, pretty good armor choice, it's not bad, but also it was a prize part from Random Booster 26. Taper, it's kind of whatever. Metal Universe, not great competitively, but it was a new driver variant. And lastly, Dangerous Belial. Belial 2 was a great core, also a new core. Dangerous, not great, but it was new. And then All Might, not great, but again, it was a new part. And the 2 armor on this thing, it's whatever, but yeah. And there you go. That is every top tier sets, and why they are top tier. Obviously, this is pretty brief, but it was just a quick look at everything. So there you go. Those are all of the top tiers. So with the proper tier list part of the video being done, what is the best set in all of Beyblade Burst? This is actually a pretty obvious question to me, but it's the God customized set. These are this is just the best set in my opinion. So why is this the best set compared to everything else? So first up, well, obviously just getting 4 bays is never a bad thing, but you have, okay, so for competitive use, Spiral does suck, I will say that, but Zephyr isn't, awful, and then, Atomic and Bearing, 2 of the best drivers in the game, the 2 best drivers in the game here, right? Discs, 1 is kind of whatever, but like 2 is still good. 4 and 7 are like the two best discs from the time. Frames, I mean, like, Flow was just kind of okay, but Star was pretty decent. Meteor was the best disc, or best frame until this came out, and then it was replaced by Bump, which, you know, again, it's the new best frame. There you go. And then for layers, I mean, like, Tornado Wyvern's the worst layer, but it's not, like, completely awful. Plus you get a Metal God chip, which is nice. And then Drain Fafnir, one of the best layers in the game, also comes with the Metal God chip. And then Arc Helmet and Deep Cast were both really good layers. So, ton of competitive use. Like, I don't think there's a single set where every single part's competitive, but this one gets really close, especially with 4 entire bays. Now then, for collector's value, were there any rare parts in here? Well, yes. Tornado Wyvern was, again, the prize of Random Booster Volume 6. The only time you can get it was in that random booster. Discs, well, nothing for discs, but for frames. You know, Star, like I mentioned, not WBA, B00 releases or Random Booster Volume 8, so this is an easier way to get it. And Atomic was also a prize part from Random Booster Volume 6. And then for new parts, Bearing, Bump, Arc Helmet Deep Chaos, which again, you can kind of overlap some of these things competitively, for collector's value, whatever. This set was just the best for its time, and was just such a great set. It just gave you, like, not everything, but like almost everything you'd ever want. Like, obviously you are missing kind of a strong attacker, I guess, but at the same time, like, you get 2 of the, like, the best bays right here, and this guy, like, man, you just get so much out of this set, like, it's insane. I don't think there's any other set that's quite this good. There are some other really good sets, like the Overdrive SP sets. That one I did consider a little bit. I guess the Chosi Customized set was also really good. You know, the GT Triple Booster sets. Even like the Lumberary DX set, just because of how, you know, good some of the stuff in here was. And also just for the collector's value, but like, nothing quite hits the same as the God Customized set. I gotta say it's the best one, personally, so there you go. That is the answer to that, I guess. So overall, this video took quite a while to record. It was a long one, but yeah, hopefully that answers the question of what the best set is. Also, going over every other set. There's 31 of them, so this video not only told you what the best set was, it went over all 30 of the others. Maybe I could have just picked a few sets, but I feel like at that point it's like, oh, where's this set, you know? And if someone asked where a set was, because I didn't say it was one of the best, then that leads to some other problems. I did limit this, because again, like I think it's the 2 Southeast Asian sets, they're very similar to like the God and Chosi sets, and they'd be redundant with the other low tiers. The launcher sets were, again, they didn't fit. I know there's some, like, I think Koro sets, like the 3-packs, the God and Chosets ones, and there's like a Legend sets from GT and whatnot. I mean, those you can count, I guess. The Anniversary sets, again, they don't really fit though, but yeah, this is just all the main sets. Maybe I'll talk about some other ones. Maybe I'll talk about random boosters eventually. That'd be cool, but for now, there you go. That is everything. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.